Meeting. Today is Thursday, May 8th. This meeting will be broadcast to Channel 22 as well as live streamed and recorded to the MRSC YouTube channel. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. First item on our agenda is the approval of meeting minutes, and unfortunately those meeting minutes are not available for us tonight, so we will move it to our next meeting, which will be on the 22nd. The next item is public comment. We'll open this up to any public comment speakers. Is anyone here? No. Seeing no one?
Oh, Meredith's going to make
Are you okay?
comment.
Okay. Seeing no one here for public comment, we'll move on to reports and discussions. Excuse me. The first item under reports and discussions is our second reading of the 2024-2025 Superintendent Summative Evaluation. I'm going to turn this over to Jess.
Sure you want me to do it? Okay. So we have, last meeting, we all discussed and reviewed this. So tonight is the second read, which means we have to take a vote. So we're going to need a motion to approve, a second. We'll see if there's discussion, additional edits, anything like that. So I think we need a... Jackie?
Yes. Motion to approve the superintendent evaluation summative as presented in your packet.
Do we have a second? Oh, Brad, second. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or discussion on the updated packet? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Okay. Unanimously approved.
Thank you. And this will be filed. Thank you. I know we've moved on. I just want to, once again, because it's my last meeting, Superintendent, it's been a pleasure working with you and a pleasure being able to be involved in your last evaluation. So this will be filed formally. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. And that will bring us right into the superintendent contract. A few months ago now, I guess it is, we made the announcement that we have a one-year contract with superintendent, and we'd like to open the floor to you, Dr. Carpenter, on that.
Sure. I just have a little prepared statement here. As Tina mentioned, Betty mentioned, my contract's on the agenda. I do intend to retire at the end of next school year, but I would also argue that the word retirement is perhaps not the most accurate for what I intend my future plans to be. 3 years ago, when my daughter was about to graduate from Monomoy Regional High School, I threw my hat into 2 superintendent searches looking for one last professional challenge before I truly decide to retire. I was the runner-up in both searches and afterward expressed to our school committee that I'd stay on until my daughter graduates from college, which will be roughly this time in June, a year from now. This June, I'll finish my 12th year with Monomoy and will reach the end of my 3-year contract. In that time, most other Cape school districts have seen superintendents turn over 2, 3, even 4 times. Stability has been one of the hallmarks for Monomoy, and it's not just stability in the superintendent role, it's also been stability at this table. And, as Tina mentioned, this is her, one of her last meetings. This is Jess's last meeting. And, it's the stability that we've had on this school committee that has also been very much a hallmark of our school district. Rather than renegotiate a 5th 3-year contract, I very openly asked our committee for only a 1-year contract. This will give the school committee in Monomoy the best opportunity to find the best possible candidate for my successor to continue the stability and excellence that we began when we first formed this regional school district. It also gives me a welcome opportunity to take a professional risk and leap into the unknown as I figure out what that one last professional challenge will look like. More than likely, I'll throw my hat into a superintendent search outside of Massachusetts in a district that could benefit from over 3 decades of experience, the bulk of which has been in the role of superintendent. I also find the core of my being increasingly being pulled back to the role of working directly with students. My body may have left the classroom years ago, but my heart never let go of it. Of my 30-plus years in education, the past 12 here at Monomoy have been the most rewarding. We have not just built a high school, we built an entire school district with the strongest administrative team around. We have seen our schools filled with outstanding educators. What I'm most proud of is the culture that we've built here at Monomoy. I'm an administrator who believes that culture of schools is paramount for a district. And Brad, I really appreciated your comments last week. Monomoy grew to be exactly the school district that I wanted to see my own children grow and thrive in. I've been blessed with every opportunity Monomoy afforded them, their peers, and our Monomoy families. I'm also not done. We have a siding and windows renovation project at our middle school that still needs the support of Chatham Town Meeting, the polls in Harwich, and next year I want to see the roof phase of the middle school renovation equally supported. I'll support our school committee however they wish next year, or however they wish next year as they search for the next superintendent, and will support that superintendent's transition into this role.
Thank you very much.
I just want to comment. Many of you know that I serve on the board of directors for the Massachusetts Association of School Committees, representing Division 7, which is Cape Cod and the Islands, Wareham, Rochester, and Carver. And I was at the State House on Tuesday meeting with our legislators about various legislative bills that we want to see passed. And it was really interesting. I met with Senator Sear and Representative Luddy's office, and bumping into school committee members from this district. And somebody said to me, Monomoy is the envy of all of us. You know, it's where everybody wants to school choice in, and we have this conversation in the hallway, and Senator Sear comes up, who went to Nauset, and, you know, for a time, Nauset was the place. Now it's Monomoy. And so we have this kind of conversation happening in the hallway at the State House, Senator Sear and the rest of us. And I just wanted to share that with all of you, that word is out that Monomoy is the place to be. So thank you. And all of that is because of your leadership and this wonderful team. So I just wanted to, you know, share that with you.
And the team starts at this table too.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? All right, so we'll move on to the K through 7 high-quality instructional materials.
Hello, Megan Smith. I am a kindergarten teacher at HES, and I was on the HQIM committee for our new proposed, hopeful mathematics curriculum framework. We worked with an amazing group of staff and administrators from all three schools, HES, CES, and the middle school. And we also took input from the high school as well during the process. It was a great group to work with. It was some really great discussions, and I think we made a lot of good progress. Starting with why we had to look for a new mathematics curriculum. These are our MCAS scores, and as you can see, each color, the blue, is exceeding expectations, green is meeting, orange is partially meeting, and red is not meeting. So clearly we don't want to have high bar graphs in the orange and red. This is 4 years of data, and you can see those oranges are still holding strong, and unfortunately those reds are still a little bit too large for our taste here at Monomoy. So over the past 10 years, we have been using Math in Focus at the elementary level, but it has not been highly rated recently, and unfortunately, most of it is not aligned with our framework. So kind of goes without saying that that's not something we want to continue working with. We have kind of been patching things together to fill in those frameworks and those standards and make sure that we're meeting those requirements. But it would be nice to have something across the board that everybody's using the same language and that carries through from grade to grade, that we're sending on to the next grade with certain skill set, and that we're receiving from the previous grade with certain skill set and language. We have, at the elementary level, we have adopted the workshop model in grades K through 4, which is a much more hands-on and much more developmentally appropriate for the grades that we're working with. Math and Focus is not compatible with the workshop model. And we also knew that there were a lot of disparities amongst demographic populations, and so equity was a very significant concern for us when we were looking into our new program. So that's what that data shows.
Hello, I'm Una Melanson. I'm first grade at Chatham Elementary. Please forgive my voice. I'm very froggy from the allergies. The beauty of spring is taking its toll on me. So we went through a very, HQIM is just a big process of really taking a deep dive into looking at different instructional materials. We formed this task force. We had representation, as was said, from both elementary and middle schools, and a little input from high school as well. General education, special education, administrators, interventionists. We used the Ed Report adoption process, which is to develop our lens, establish a vision, deep dive into data, and set district priorities for our resource. We had to know and winnow our choices, which is learn about available resources, conduct initial research, collect information from other districts and experts, and apply district priorities to resources to find 2 to 4 to study more deeply. So this was a year-long process. We did talk to Brewster, Nauset Public Schools, who is using iReady. We also talked to Sandwich and a couple of other districts we went to visit. We did a lot of research into both programs and all the programs that we investigated and where they met our criteria. We investigated the materials through our piloting, which many of us did pilot across the grade levels in both the schools. And we used all the evidence, which was a lot, that we collected to make a final decision. And now we're hoping that we'll be able to implement the iReady program. So the goals for the task force was to find a curriculum resource that is standards-based and provides resource that is appropriate to our instructional mode, which is the workshop model, and includes discourse, collaboration, opportunity to struggle, multiple strategies, is reflective of our students, and is aligned to grade level standards for all learners. We also wanted to find a curriculum resource that drives instruction and identifies students for Tier 1, 2, and 3 with material to support students' needs in real time. To find a curriculum resource that has strong math instruction with breakdown for teachers to include connections to prior learning, future learning implications, and ongoing professional development. The resource must provide access to high-quality, standards-aligned curricular materials that fits in with the math workshop model. And I put in a picture, you can only see like a little glimpse of it up there. Part of what our resources was lacking was experience with place value, which is considered to be across all grade levels something that kids are really not grasping. The meaning of what the numbers and the digits actually mean when you're with the algorithm. So this program really gives them the opportunity to dive deep, not only with the manipulatives, but then to move to the next level of understanding of representing their thinking. You can see, the sketches that this student has done of the place value blocks at doing double-digit addition and subtraction. So it's moving from that real hands-on to the more abstract and not shortchanging that process, which is something that we really needed. The resource must include windows, mirrors, and sliding glass doors. inclusion of diverse representation in educational materials that help students understand themselves, see themselves reflected in the materials, and the ability to understand others. The resource must include opportunities for differentiation, including intervention and acceleration materials, as well as engaging lessons that allow for purposeful struggle. And that's the really important thing. I always tell my students that they need to get used to feeling a little uncomfortable. Not too uncomfortable, just a little uncomfortable, and that's where the real learning is taking place. Too often, the students feel that if they know the answer right away, then they've got it. But really, the knowledge is in the struggle. So learning to be comfortable with that is a big thing, and I feel that iReady really supports that process. Um, 8-3 to 2-1 selection of iReady Core Mathematics K-5. It's a highly rated curricular resource from both EdReports and Curate. Scored an average of 25 out of 27 in the EdReports Gateway rubric from pilot reviewers at both the elementary schools and the middle school. It scored an average of 68 out of 72 points on NYU's STEAM Culturally Responsive Scorecard from reviewers at both the elementary schools and the middle school. The feedback from people who piloted the grade level teams and from educators in the district that are currently employing the program were really favorable. Materials include a diagnostic assessment that links directly to the program and provides a digital platform for personalized learning, which is really awesome. The kids love it. They get so excited to go on there and do that in addition to the lessons that we're teaching and exploring. There's a well-developed professional learning plan, including 10 implementation sessions in year one. And the training that we had during the pilot was just amazing. It was a really very dynamic. One of the things that our trainer showed us was something that you're going to see in a very short video clip from first grade. When you see this clip, I want you to think about what first grade is like at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, just after recess and lunch and just before the end of the day, and you're diving deep into math and asking for like some really kind of heavy thinking. And be a little forgiving of these friends. The process is called the 3 reads process, and the 3 reads helps children to slow down and reason through word problems, reason through the language, and reflect before trying to solve. So we know that one area where kids across the nation struggle is in word problems, and so much of math now is word problems, and a lot of the struggle is trying to figure out what the question is asking. So here's how we are starting to teach that in first grade.
Second read, we're going to read and try to figure out what question we're answering. Are you ready? Yeah. Okay, all together. 1, 2, 3.
There are 2 more ducks than geese. There are 9 geese. How many ducks are there?
Great. Turn and tell your neighbor what you think we're trying to solve.
How many more ducks are there than geese?
Listen to what your neighbor thinks too.
11 dead. How many?
Okay, class.
Yes.
Who thinks they know what problem we're trying to solve? Everly.
We know that there's 2 more, but we don't know what the whole number is.
What's the question that you're going to focus on?
We don't know how many coal there is.
Okay, so there's some information that we don't know. What's the question that we are trying to answer here? Elena?
How many more ducks than geese are there?
Okay, we want to know how many ducks there are. Can you underline that in your book? How many ducks are there?
How many ducks are there?
Okay, we're about ready for our third read.
So that was the second read, and this is, so in the first read, you just read through the problem and kids tell what the story is telling. The second read, you're more focused on the question, and then the third read, you're more focused on the quantities, and you'll see that next.
Read, we're going to read it one last time, pick out what important information we need to solve it, and then you get to work on the problem. Are you ready? Yeah. Okay, read it all together. 1, 2, 3.
There are 2 more ducks than geese. There are 9 geese. How many ducks are there?
Awesome. What important information can you find in the problem that we need to circle? Skylar, what's something we need to know to solve it?
There are 2 more ducks than geese, and there are 9 geese. Because if we didn't know there were 2 more ducks than geese, we wouldn't know how to solve the problem.
All right, so we do need all of that to solve it. So let's circle that there are 2 more ducks than geese. Go ahead and circle it. And then what's the other piece of information that we're going to circle? It looks like you found it, Layla. Can you share it with us?
9 geese.
Do we agree that there are 9 geese?
Yes.
Okay, using that information, can you find how many ducks there are?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead and solve.
And then the last clip is them solving the problem, and it's just a short clip, but normally we would go in and they would have to defend their answer somehow or prove it. So it's very short. And you can see that they're all engaged, they're all actively in it and solving.
I think there's 11.
So we think that that's really
Second
great.
read, we're going to read and try to figure out what question.
Hi, I'm Jen Kelly. I'm the principal at Chatham Elementary School. So as you can see, there's been such great work happening, and I hope if you have a chance to watch these videos again later, the more you watch them, the more you see some of the intricacies of what is happening. When you hear their voices, and they were using words like solve and quotient, and they're in first grade, and they're using this mathematical language. And then you might have noticed in the last video, some of the students had counters or manipulatives, where it really recommends using whatever a kid needs to be able to solve a problem, and they're learning that they have choice and strategies to use to help solve these problems in many different ways. And as Una was mentioning, the next part is for the kids to share their strategies, and they talk and they defend how they have solved the problem, or our big signal is this, I agree. And we do that all the time, and it's really exciting to hear such great, robust conversation about math. So now, we would really like to move forward with iReady Mathematics for K through 4 and in Monomoy. We really believe that this is going to help us raise our standard of teaching and the quality of the instruction for our kids. Our next steps, obviously, this evening to talk to you and tell you about the process that we came to decide on this program. We will be sharing information with caregivers and the community, looking to provide some parent universities and some education for families as we unroll the program next year. We are also going to be doing some professional learning as well. One of the nice parts of those teachers that were who had volunteered to pilot these programs is that they also received some preliminary professional development with iReady. We were really impressed with not only the questions and how they were willing to work with us about our questions, but really taking into account our Monomoy needs. with the iReady program and their developers. It's been a great partnership already. We will be having professional learning, the first to start in June for any teachers that did not pilot the program, so that they'll have an introduction to the program before they end this school year and before we come back in the fall. In August, when we return to school, our second day of school will be dedicated to instruction and using the iReady program and getting things set up and ready for their classrooms to start as soon as the kids come through the doors. We also have potentially a setup date for in November as well to follow up. And throughout the year, iReady and their experts are willing to come out and work with the administrators, with the teachers to do walkthroughs and really problem solve how the program is working for us. Another wonderful part of iReady is that it comes with a diagnostic assessment. In fact, iReady actually first began as a diagnostic. Many districts across the Cape, across Massachusetts, use iReady instead of NWEA MAP. We would like to move to using iReady Math diagnostic and the reading diagnostic. What's wonderful about it is that it also provides something called My Path, which will give us learning paths for individual students based upon how they score on their assessments. And we also look forward to putting student learning and professional practice goals in our PLCs and with our teachers around the implementation of this new program. We know that any implementation of a new program can be a heavy lift, but we're excited about the work that's ahead of us and really grateful to the HQIM task force for putting all this work and thought into the process. So that's what we have for you. If you have questions for us, we're happy to answer them.
So I just want to first second everything they've said about the task force. We have a bunch of teachers here who didn't want to speak, but they are here for questions. So they're sitting back here in the keep seats. But this is, I've done a lot of these task force over my 25-year career, and Jen and I were saying, this is one of the most dedicated teams I've ever worked with. They stayed with their priorities, they stayed with the curricular goals, they knew their data inside and out, they knew what problem we were trying to solve. We wouldn't take on a curricular resource if the one that was currently working was working. So we don't want to throw things out that are working, but this was a necessity that we engaged in the year, and I can't thank all of them and all of them enough for that. So I just want to make sure I said that.
Okay, so thank you.
And it shows. Really like the focus on the objectives and the way that the task force in terms of the process. Question is, what does success look like? And I understand in terms of you want to be able to see the grades increase, but based on the results of this company in terms of all these other school districts from you looked at, how long will it take to start moving the needle?
I will be really interested to see what our progress this year already has been. Many of the teachers at Chatham Elementary School have piloted the program already this year. It'll be interesting to compare our end of the year results in math on MAP this year compared to what they were last year. I think we're going to see a significant difference. I can tell you from just being in all the classrooms that the level of math discourse amongst our students is at an all-time high level. We have students in first and second grade that are saying, well, I understand that, but I think, or I would like to defend. And they're using the mathematical language, they're using multiple strategies, they're advocating for themselves to use tools like counters or what we call rec and rec, or a number line, and they're flexible in their thinking. And I think for me personally, as we look at math and the history of math, being able to be flexible in your thinking not only helps students in mathematics, but in every area of academics, and to see the growth that these kids have had and the success that our teachers are having in coming at it with a new way of teaching has been truly mind-blowing to watch.
And that's great, the initial pilot test. What did the organization tell you in terms of what you can expect with, given other school districts have used this? Did they tell you at some point, when it starts being able to really be having an impact that you're going to be able to measure?
That was actually a question that Dr. Millen had quite often for the
Good question.
So you're fine.
Yes, I was on them about data a lot, as you can imagine. So traditionally, so different schools, there's so many complex things that are working with resources in other districts. So we're already seeing a quick turnaround with the math workshop model that's gone in. So we will see, hopefully, an increased achievement and growth levels immediately, but we won't necessarily see the full profits of this instruction or these resources probably for 3 to 4 years. You're going to see an implementation dip too, more than likely. It's typical, when teachers are working on either new instructional strategies or new curricular resources, and we're currently working on both at the same time. That takes a lot of capacity, a lot of brain power, a lot of thinking with teachers, and sometimes we see some of that dip happen. But we haven't set it yet, but we will set very clear goals as part of this curricular resource adoption, and it's great because we have clear priorities already set, so we'll have numerical and quantitative and qualitative goals set, because we don't want to get, and this was part of our priorities too, was we don't want to get back in a situation where we have a program for 10 years that's not necessarily working for all students. Sure. And so I know it makes school committee sometimes concerned and the business manager concerned because we're spending money and we want to give it a good shot. And so the typical cycle is about 3 years before you start that evaluation process, but we'll have clear outcomes at that point.
And we'll be able to measure this every year as well.
Every year.
Okay, thank you.
Jackie. Hello.
Hey.
I have a couple questions, not in any particular order, but I guess my first question is, does it fit within our budget? Does it fit within our line item?
Good question. Yes, it fits well within our budget.
All right.
It does.
We don't have to elaborate on that as long as it fits in there. I don't need to know if we're saving money or as long as we're...
I will say there are some complexities with the quote right now simply because we are doing this K-5. So, which is what we had intended. We will bring 6, 7 online over the next couple of years. They haven't firmly decided whether they're going to go with the Carnegie product, which is what's here at the high school, or stay with the iReady. Although early indicators, Kelly's here, is that 6 and 7 are starting to really see the profits of the iReady program, simply because 5th is using it so readily now. The other thing is that we are now shifting away from the NWE MAP diagnostic to make sure that it aligns with this math program. And so in doing so, we're also going to bring the reading iReady on. So we're going to remove that cost center of MAP and bring iReady in. So it's not a quite one-to-one exchange, but it is a recurring cost every year.
Okay. As a follow-up to that question, consumables for this? How often?
So there are workbooks, consumables. The thing that we're seeing with curriculum, he's smiling over there, is, what, back in the day when we used to be able to buy a textbook, and the textbook could last us 3 to 5 years.
You wrapped it with a paper bag. It was great.
Right, you wrapped it.
Favorite part.
What we're finding with, curricular products now is because so much of it is digital, they have now displaced that textbook cost into a yearly digital cost. So there is a recurring evergreen cost for the digital products in addition to the consumables. So you're not spending like $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 out of the gate for a textbook now, but you are spending that over the next 3 or 4 years on the digital licenses.
So it's budgetary reasons. It's not one line. It's one line item right out of the gate, but then there will be maintenance for consumables moving forward, whether it's digitized or
and the digital resources, right?
Okay. And then my next question is about the professional learning for our teachers. How much of this differs from the Math and Focus as far as, is this going to be a struggle for them? Is this going to be seamless? And I guess a follow-up to that question would be, when we went from our last curriculum to Math and Focus, there was a gap. I think 2nd to 3rd grade, multiplication. So our 3rd graders were going into Math and Focus needing to know multiplication, and they weren't getting that when we were with the old math in 2nd grade, so they were at a deficit, and our teachers were scurrying to try and figure that out. Does this transition have any of those gaps you've identified?
So we haven't, and so we've been doing a lot of work over the last couple of years on standards, teaching to the standard, not to the curricular resource, and then aligning that work rather than the other way where people were aligning to the resource and not the standard. So I don't see any gap as far as like learning success criteria for students or, knowing the standards or the priority standards of what teachers need. And I'm going to let Kelly come up and talk about 5th grade. But I think where you're going to see some of the uptake is that our children are going to be asked to struggle, and we are actually staying with the standards. So like right now, second grade is like nervous because algorithms are not in the second grade standard, and they're like, but they're not going to be prepared for third grade. I'm like, they're going to be prepared for third grade, but if you don't teach them those foundational bases as they get a higher in their maths, it's going to be a problem that they don't understand the place value, or they don't understand the conceptual understanding of that addition problem without the algorithm, that abstract. So I think that's kind of still a little concerning to some teachers, but I think as we're seeing those successes in achievement, and also so that we don't see the dropout part of upper level maths and have more students engaged in higher level maths as a gateway to so many things that we know at the high school and beyond, that's where you'll see the benefits. But that's going to take some time to have people understand that's okay.
And that'll be built into the PL as well for them to help support that.
Yeah, I'm going to let Callie just talk quickly though about
Hi, I'm Callie Lauer. I teach fifth grade math and science. Thinking about the implementation piece, I think that I speak for myself and the other fifth grade teachers. And I think Kristen would also agree, we follow like a workshop model. We are a very hands-on, centers-based teaching style. And I have been in love with this, and it has moved in seamlessly into my classroom and right into that model already, which has been really awesome. And I would also say that I have seen such an improvement in math discourse in my classroom. The vocabulary that they're applying to different problems has been really incredible to see. It's like, where was this at the beginning of the year? And I'm like so upset that we didn't have this to start the year because it's so great. I would also say in regards to the standards, it also opens up just having really great conversations within our team and really being able to see, okay, what are you seeing with this standard? Because it's all going to be the same. That language is going to be the same. The strategies that they're being exposed to. And it really just allows us to have better conversations on what maybe we need to change and also what it looks like as they move into sixth grade, and really being able to have those conversations as well with the fourth grade teachers, and then also moving up into the sixth grade. So I think it just really opens up room for really strong conversations and continuing to work with our teams to have some really strong math curriculum.
Excellent, thank you, and thank you to the task force. Excellent work.
So I have a few questions, I'm sorry. Just after she spoke, when did we start the pilot?
Yeah, sure. So we actually did 2 pilots. We piloted a program called Reveal beginning in October, and some actually started in September. At Chatham, all of our teachers piloted both programs. So we piloted Reveal until the December break, and then when we came back from break, we used iReady for the remainder of the year. So we got half a year out of both programs. Really helped inform our decision-making as well. And then we had classrooms at Harwich that piloted both programs as well.
Great. The balance of digital and hands-on, is it a balance?
It's a great balance. I probably should go to one of the teachers about it as well, but I can tell you that there's lots of discourse, and then they have games to reinforce for, and the kids love the games. I'm going to let Una take this one.
The digital is 15 minutes a day, 3 times a week. That's it. And the rest is discourse, it's math talk, it's exploring, trying and solving and discussing and all of those other rolling up your sleeves kind of work.
Is it about an hour total?
It's 45 minutes to an hour.
Okay, awesome. I have a question about professional development. How that is, I'm sorry, Robin, I'm sorry. I have a lot of questions. So as far as, the implementation coming on board next year, I'm sure that the company is coming to give you support with professional development, but eventually I'm guessing you have a plan to maybe transition the company out and.
Yes, so we have a 3-year plan. The implementation in the beginning will be with the company. We have been working over the last 2 years with Allison Mello for the workshop as well. That's sunsetting. The new programming with Brian and Brandon from iReady will be coming in. But we have champions already in the building. And very similar to how we unrolled You Fly this year in the reading program, we had certain teachers who were like our champions of the rollout. They provided embedded professional development, they did walkthroughs, they did calibration. That's what we plan on doing. We do plan on keeping the iReady program 10 this year and then whittling it down as we see fit into year 2, but keeping a new teacher programming on board as well. So they get the fidelity of the onboarding with iReady, but then our internal champions will continue to support the rest of the professional development moving into year 2. It's a 3-year implementation plan. So year 2 and then lessening a little bit in 3 and then evaluating to see if the resource had an impact on student achievement or growth.
I knew you had a plan. All right, my last question, I promise. How about differentiation, support for our striving learners and our multilingual learners? Is it embedded in the curriculum?
Yeah, it's awesome. It's incredible. There's almost sometimes like a little too much. I'm like, there's so many. There's one that I pulled where it gives on level, below level, and above level, and it allows the students to kind of make that choice for themselves. In my room, I put them out and allow the students to choose with myself if they need it, and they often really enjoy what they are choosing, and it works for them. There's also just differentiation in the way that they can approach the different problems. It's really incredible. I've truly enjoyed using it. I moved on from the pilot, but I'm still using it in my classroom because it's just been so enjoyable, and I've liked seeing the positive impact that it's been having on my classroom.
Excellent.
Yeah.
One more?
Can I just add on to that? The differentiation is really cool because you get the results back and it'll tell you exactly what skills each child needs to work on. And it will backfill. It'll say if they're struggling with this, step back to these lessons and focus on these lessons to support them. And this is where they're going. So it tells you what you need to backfill and where you're headed with those challenges specifically. The other thing I wanted to mention is that a lot of the members of the task force really liked that they have almost a teach the teacher. They have sections explaining why they're doing it this way. And I know that a few of like the second grade teachers were pretty impressed, especially with the algorithm, because they really want that algorithm, that standard algorithm. But it spelled out why we're using this process to, you know, whatever the topic was, and it spells out why you're doing that and what skills your children are bringing and where they're headed from there. So it really, I mean, I know that part wasn't the differentiation piece, but the iReady does also spell out what skills they need to help for each level.
I'm sorry, one more. So what about connection? I know that this is a tier 1 curriculum. So how does this connect to our interventionists and our special educators?
That's a really great question. It has tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 accommodations with the program. As Megan was just mentioning too, the diagnostic is going to give the individual my paths for the students on the skills that we need to backfill for them or to accelerate them with. So it's really encompassing. It's really, we have to get in, everything looks great when you first see it and you have the sales pitch. But I think that what we have seen so far, we've been really, really impressed with, and we've just started to scratch the surface because it's been a pilot. One thing I did want to mention is the cultural piece to iReady. It's scored extremely high on some assessments for cultural diversity, and it's really wonderful to see the stories and how they're incorporating different cultures, different types of people, different areas. Our kids are learning something in addition to the mathematics as they're going through this cultural piece, and it's a really nice added bonus, and it's authentic. Sometimes you will see in a resource that they will just change the names of the students and think that that's being culturally diverse, and this is not the case. I was in a 3rd grade classroom and they were learning about Mexican holidays, and the math had to do with the holiday, but they also got a little background information. So they're learning about different cultures, different people, and doing math at the same time. It makes it authentic and real for them.
Awesome. Sorry for all my questions. It's my jam.
No questions. Questions are good things.
No program or process is ever perfected. It can always be improved.
Exactly.
Have you been to the point now in this pilot program that you can say to this organization that you're working with that here's some suggestions, here's some feedback to make it even better for yourselves and for other school districts?
I would say definitely our K-1-2 pilots have been really, they have talked about how well it meshes with the workshop model. 3 and 4, the lessons, because the lesson that they're teaching is a little bit more complicated, so part of a workshop model is a mini lesson, and when you're getting into more difficult concepts, the mini lesson becomes a little bit longer. And so that was one of our big questions, is how are we going to make sure that this resource is supporting this workshop model that we have invested so much time and money and we're seeing the results from. And Brandon and Brian from iReady have been just really scratching their heads and working with us and talking with the teachers and having these really deep conversations about how to take what the program offers and move it and adjust it so that it fits our needs perfectly. So it'll be a process, as Robin said. Over the year we look forward to meeting continually, getting feedback after every unit, talking about what worked, what didn't work, so that we can learn and grow with the program.
The other part of mathematical understanding that we realize is a relative weakness for iReady is MathBack fluency. They have a fluency program, part of the MyPath program, but it's more broad than just MathBack fluency, understanding what the algorithm is or the addition, problem, subtraction, multiplication, division. So we will be keeping one supplemental product that we already have that we vetted last year called MathBack Lab. And then we have been working with iReady to say, you've got to tighten this part up of your programming, and they've been really understanding and know that they've been very truthful with us. They know that's a relative weakness of their project or program, and so they've been working with us and our recommendations, but we are going to keep a supplementary program for that.
Great. Well, it's very exciting, and we can't wait to see the results and see the progress over the ensuing years.
Jackie? My last question, I promise. Just back on the digital piece, just one quick question, because I talked about consumables. I don't know if you categorize digital devices in that or not, but do we have enough digital devices to support what we need to do?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're on an evergreen cycle with technological updates.
Perfect, yeah, okay, great, thank you.
Any additional questions?
Thank you for your support and resources, and we look forward to updating you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you
Great
very
work.
much.
Next on our agenda is the first reading of policy files.
Madam Chair, we've got a number of different policies. There are just some very few changes on these. And for the non-discrimination on the basis of disability, what has been changed is instead of using the word handicapped, it is person with a disability.
Any questions?
The second one is the mission statement, and our subcommittee recommends that a mission statement, which is part of a strategic plan, should not be included as a part of a policy manual. Mission vision, values is a separate is just a separate entity, and never seen it involved in any type of policies for any organization. It's always part of a strategic plan. So we are recommending we take it out of policy.
Questions, Jackie?
I just have one question. Is it considered a policy, or is it like the cover going into the policies of the district? Is it like, sometimes you read and it says, our mission statement is this, is where this isn't actually a policy. It's just sharing whether the strategic plan came up with the mission.
It's got a file number,
It's got a
so I
file
would
number.
assume it's attached to something.
It had been part of it,
Yeah.
but we're recommending that it just doesn't
Yep.
belong in any type of policy manual.
Yeah, so I would agree that it shouldn't be a policy, but I'm wondering if it still should be part of the policy manual as an introduction. Just curious.
So your mission statement's really, your overview of your high-level
Right.
overview of what you're doing, so it can be used wherever.
So it's somewhere else, though?
Yeah, but
Okay.
the home
As long
shouldn't
as
be
it's
within the
somewhere else,
policy.
I'm good. Or whatever, whether it needs to be changed, I don't know.
Any other questions? Okay.
The next one involving tobacco use on school premises and changing discipline code to code of conduct. The next, proceed. Next, school committee operational goals. Again, these need to be reviewed on a periodic basis. The policy committee, subcommittee did not see any changes that were needed to be made.
Everybody had a chance to review?
I have one question. We do I feel like we talked about this a while back, but number 1, periodically setting performance objectives for the school committee. We do set our goals, but we don't have any evaluation in place for that. We have the superintendent has goals that we set, and then there is an evaluation which incorporate those goals, but we have no evaluation in place. So I'm not saying we have to have an evaluation, I'm just saying it says itself in evaluating their accomplishment. In what way do we evaluate, I guess?
We
is my
review
question.
it in our meetings, like halfway through the year and in the summer, so to see where
Like
we're
our, how our progress.
Correct.
Right, so I'm wondering if evaluating shouldn't be in there and it should be changed, just the terminology.
Sure.
Certainly a good question, but one of the things I had in mind when reviewing this, and I know this is something we probably want to put on the agenda going into the next session, was the program that Tina had presented to us several weeks ago about evaluating school committee. So again, it's not something that we have right now, we're evaluating, we're reviewing it, but when I saw that, I thought that was something that probably merits a lot of discussion, and if it's being done in other places, it probably makes a lot of sense. But again, it's not something that we're doing right this second.
Right.
That we would have to go through that and go through the process and vote on that at another time.
I would say if the intention is that we're going to proceed with that, then just leave it the way it is.
For the moment, we can always come back and change
Yeah.
this.
Right.
So. Okay, next, also, school committee legal status. No changes on this, but again, needs to be reviewed periodically.
I'm trusting that the weighted votes is in here correctly.
I know, that's what I was
I'm like,
looking at.
I've read
that,
it twice and I'm like, it always gets me.
Thoughts or comments?
That was my thought and my comment.
I'll add that. I don't think that's going to change right now.
Yeah, there's certain.
No, I just want to make sure we
criteria.
have it right here.
Right.
Correct.
For going forward, like, it definitely needs to be correct here.
It's correct.
Yeah,
We'll move forward.
We don't have to have anything about the 2/3 vote in here
yeah.
for legal reasons.
Because it changes, there's certain things.
There's certain things
I
we have
think
to have
that's more like
2/3.
open meeting law, right? And procedural instead of policy.
I don't think it's open meeting law, but I think it's
I don't think it's
procedural.
open, it's not open meeting law, it's more about the regional agreement and what we established, like, because there's certain votes where you have to count it up, 50,
Yeah.
and there's certain that it's just a one vote.
Majority,
It's
yeah.
different on what you're voting on. Yeah,
I just don't know if that lands here.
exactly. I'm trying to think if it should be outlined, or we could just say, refer to the regional agreement.
It's,
Yeah.
Melissa's shaking her head, does not need to be here.
Yeah, okay.
It's
yeah.
somewhere else.
Okay,
We're
yeah, so
good.
we'll leave
Okay.
that out.
Okay.
If you have questions, go to the regional agreement.
And it says right here, established by the law and regional agreement. It says it right there, last
Yes,
sentence.
exactly.
So-
Yep.
Perfect, Brett, thank you.
The next is school committee powers and duties, and what has been added here is a couple paragraphs on personnel matters, which really explains about the, in terms of appointments, in terms of superintendent, and upon the recommendation of superintendent, some of other positions.
Can I just ask a clarifying question? The third bullet, actually, in the first section, provision of financial resources, the committee is responsible for adoption of a budget that will enable the school system to carry out the committee's policies, but shouldn't it also be the district's?
The district is the committee,
So funnel it down, starts here and then whatever. Okay. Because when I read that, I guess, I don't know, when I read that, okay. Reads funny to me, I don't know why.
Anything else, Jackie? Anything else?
Who knows?
Ready for the next one?
Okay, yes.
Okay, all right. School committee member authority, there were no changes to this policy.
We added there.
Yeah.
Excuse me, except for
Yep.
the his, her, their, excuse me, in number 4 under duties.
Yes, Jess.
I thought that we had done a blanket. Okay.
We did.
Okay, but
Yeah.
it just didn't.
This one somehow got missed, so,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah.
thought so. All right.
All right. Yeah.
Anything else? Moving on.
And final one is school committee composition, and no changes to this.
Madam Chair, just a quick question, and I think you said this, Brad. So we're just looking at this because we think we just need to review it? Is that every so often?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, most of those were from 2013
Okay.
from the original, and we're trying to get on a schedule of
Okay.
review, so they just don't sit. And so the committee has done a lovely job going through.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, all right. Excellent, thank you. We'll bring those back for a second reading at our next meeting on the 22nd for a vote.
I'll have more questions by then, don't worry.
Fantastic.
And I'll just move that the wellness policy on physical activity and nutrition under the file ADF be approved.
Brad made a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Meredith, thank you. Any questions or discussion on the wellness policy? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained. Okay, passes unanimously.
Good work, policy subs.
Yeah, so lots of work.
Finance update and budget transfer.
Good evening, school committee. Mike McMillan, school business manager. If I can just have 2 seconds, I'm going to try and get. All right, brilliant. Look at that. Okay, so I made a couple of changes to how the financial report is presented, in that I sort of combined the transfers and the report into one memo and provided a sort of short narrative on the front, just to make it a little more, a little easier to maybe understand, if that's helpful. And I also put a table in the report, and I'll show you there in a bit more detail. I'm going to get into So, but I'd like to start just with an overview of the finance report itself. I'm just going to. So this, I've just put up on the screen the actual report that's included in your packs. So the high level a picture right now is that we have at the end of March, we had 1.1% of the budget unexpended or unencumbered. So unencumbered means we've sort of accounted for all the costs, including payroll, that we are expecting through to the end of the year. So that is relatively small compared to the margin that we've had in the last 5 years. So in the last 5 years, the average was 4.3% remaining at this stage. And that's slightly elevated by, during COVID, we had a slightly larger margin, but nevertheless, 1.1% is a pretty slim margin. That's partly by design, so we have been drafting and preparing budgets which are much tighter. We're trying to keep it down, as low as we can, while also delivering all the services, all the supplies and the needs that we have to in the district. And it's partly due to the ongoing sort of fiscal and educational climate that we're operating in. Fiscal in that we've seen rising costs, including in things like utilities, our electricity and gas prices are going up. And I'll say a little bit more on that shortly. And also just educationally, we're seeing the cost of education increasing. We're seeing an increase in the number of out-of-district placements and the transportation that goes along with that. And so all that is putting pressure on a budget that's already quite tight. Now, if we go down to this, so I'll just say, so this chart on the right is just sort of showing that 1.1%. So it's a little hard to see the color, the bars on the screen, but there's a light bar behind that that's the budget, and the dark blue is expenditure. So you can see in recent years the dark blue increasingly fills the light blue, and that's us using up the budget. And so if I scroll down, I'm just going to show you this chart here. So what this chart is it's a 5-year, it's a trend, it's sort of a forecast for this year, which is those orange and grey lines, that's based on the expenditure for the last 5 years. So it doesn't look at budget or anything, it just takes how much we've spent and uses that to forecast how we think we'll go for the rest of the year. And then on top of that, I've mapped out what we've actually spent this year. So this is just to give, this is the sort of thing that helps me sleep at night, because it gives me a sense of where are we, if we continue spending money as we have been in the last 5 years, but with a slightly higher budget, are we going to come in on budget? So you can see the blue line, it was below the forecast, and it's kind of caught with the forecast. It was high for January and February, and just towards the end of March, it's come much closer to the middle forecast. So if we continue to follow that forecast, we'll come under that black dotted line, which is the budget. So it does appear like we're going to be okay. We're going to come in under budget, or right around budget, which is what we're aiming for, but pretty slim margins. So I've got some project updates, which I'll go into in a moment. I just want to jump to this slide, this chart, which, I like this chart. I don't know if everybody else does. So if you'd rather have, the detail, there is a table I've included now that goes into all that in a lot more detail. If that's what pushes your buttons, that's also there now. But I'm just going to come back to this chart because it's prettier to look at.
I'm going to follow you over here.
So what this chart does, a bit like with the budget one, it shows the dark blue is expenditure and the light blue is budget. A bit like the first chart I showed you. So, as we are getting through to the end of the year, we would expect the dark blues to be filling up the budget because we are spending all our budget. That's our aim. I've highlighted, a few spots where we're sort of having issues. The first is in pupil services, so that does include transportation, and we've seen an increase in our transportation costs, in part related to an increase in our out-of-district tuition costs, and also just a variety of individual situations for students where they require transportation of some kind in or out of the district. And so we're seeing that increase. Likewise, and so the programs with other districts, you'll see that's significantly higher than budget. There's two facts, so that's one of the big things that's driving the majority of that is our out-of-district tuition. So we've seen an increase, and I think I put the numbers in there. We've seen a significant increase in the number of placements between what we budgeted, which was unfortunately back in spring, early spring of last year for this year's budget. But that also includes some assumptions about school choice and charter tuition, which hopefully will be lower.
Madam Chair, can I ask a question? Yeah. So moving forward to this year I know that some of those out of district was unforeseen.
Yeah.
But moving forward, is that line item
So that,
supporting what is happening?
yes.
Okay.
So for FY '26, we increased the budget significantly, which is one of the things that was pushing that plus 5% increase. So that's reflected, and we have planned to draw on more of circuit breaker revenue to try and offset that. So instead of waiting, we used to time it, so we get circuit breaker revenue from the state, and we would wait and use that a year behind. We're now catching up, so we're using it as we receive it. So, it's so hard without a district tuition, like it ebbs and flows, so it may increase, and it may decrease in a couple of years. We know there's a couple of older students in there who will age out over the next couple of years, but how many are coming behind them, we don't know. So, but it is reflected, and there have not been any surprises or significant changes since we set the budget. I mean, I don't know what
Knock
it
on
was.
wood, please.
Yeah, I know. So, for that. And so the other thing to mention is we did get notification this last week or so, that we're receiving additional circuit breaker in this year, because our special education department does a spectacular job, and every year they submit a sort of mid-year report on all their expenditure for the current year, and that's optional. You don't have to do it, but Melissa has got a great practice of doing that every year. And then because our increases have been so high year to year, the state gives us some additional funding. So that was around $90,000. So that's why I haven't actually requested a transfer for that item yet, because I want to reflect that, and plus see because that major account also includes our school choice tuition. So that's the money we pay for students who are attending other schools, and our charter tuition for students who are attending charter. And we had an assumption in there at the start of the year, and it actually looks like it's going to be lower than we thought. So we're going to be able to reduce that budget, reduce the expenditure there because of those two items, and we'll be able to move some of that expenditure out to our circuit breaker fund because we have those additional funds. So
What a domino effect.
I know. It's nice that things working in our favor. I'm touch wood again. It won't last long.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Enjoy while it
I
lasts.
interrupted.
I'll be quick. So I just wanted to highlight a couple other ones. Operations and maintenance is about halfway down in the middle. That's this one here. So that's right on budget, and you'll see compared to last year, it's actually in a better shape than it was last year. The reason it's in a better shape is because we're spending less on HVAC maintenance. So, I've been complaining about HVAC maintenance for a couple of years now. We've been spending a lot of money, particularly here at the high school. But it feels like they were sort of caught with a lot of outstanding repairs that had to be done, and so there's less costs associated with that. So that's positive. Unfortunately, what's pushing in another direction is our utility costs, and we're seeing a big increase there in electricity and gas costs, and that's having an impact on the expenditure in that major account. Although some of that is encumbered, so hopefully we'll be good to the end of the year. Benefits and charges are a little bit below budget. Last year, it looks like it was over budget last year. It was just, so we have to encumber some of the costs that are paid in in June, even though they relate to the following year, the following financial year. And so when we get into June, we release all those encumbrances, and that reduces the budget. So that, although it looks over budget, in the end it wasn't. And administration. So administration is over budget at the moment. So there was a couple of things put pressure on the administration budget, but the thing that pushed it over was related to the high school debt. So when we had to pay some fees related to the reissuance of the high school debt, but we have subsequently received some money back that was sitting sort of in the escrow related to that loan. So we've received those funds back, and we're able to use those funds to offset that apparent increase in that major account. So hopefully that should resolve all that. There has been some other pressure due to turnover in the business office, and professional development related to that. But that's within budget, and really once we resolve that debt-related cost, that should be all set. So I'm just going to jump down to, and I'm covering a lot. There's more information here if you're interested. So this table just goes through each of the major accounts, gives a definition of what's included, the budget, what's been encumbered or spent to date, the balance, and the percentage remaining, spent actually, sorry, and then a little note about what's happening on it. On revenue is broadly where I won't spend a lot of time on this. The biggest change has been in their federal revenue, federal grants. That's ESSER. So we had, like $1 million more in ESSER last year than we're getting this year. So that's what's been a big difference. Otherwise, everything is broadly where we expected it to be. And there's some issues to timing, but nothing major. And then just the last couple of updates here. One is student activities. So that's one of our, when we updated the policy a couple of years ago, and so things we agreed is that we provide an update on where we are with student activities each quarter. And the Lighthouse funds, that's one of the student activities that we have for grade-wide issues or for students who are not otherwise able to pay for events. Right now, there's not been a lot of activity in our student activities or in our Lighthouse fund, but there is often towards the end of the year when they have more events. And our investments, so we have a few different investments that we have ongoing. The only one that really fluctuates much is the investment in treasury bills. And the treasurer does a great job of sort of investing, basically it's 6 months. He'll invest portions of funds for 6 months, so it's then available to pay bills as those bills come in. And that helps us, and we are bringing in more interest than we had budgeted again, which is great, but we are finding the returns are going down. They were like over 5% for a while, they're now drifting down, so they're around 4%. All right, I'm almost finished. I just wanted to jump back up here to some project updates. So our gas supply contract, so we purchased gas, so we get gas supply and gas delivery. So gas delivery is through National Grid, so that's on the utility, we don't have any choice over that. But we go out to bid for our gas supply. We were with Sprague Energy, and we have renewed with them for another year after procurement. We purchased in a little group with Harwich and Chatham. And the cost has gone up. We were paying just shy of 50 cents. The new contract is over 76%. So that's a significant increase, and that could add up to $90,000 to our budget, which will it'll push it more than that, but it might push us over budget. So it depends how cold the winter is in the spring and the fall. So, and we're looking at ways, I'm talking to some of the vendors we use, Rick Travers, our facilities director, we're looking into ways that we can try and reduce our use of gas, and that will help us save some cost, hopefully. But there's a structural issue, if I have 1 minute, there's a structural issue around gas, in that there's a limited pipeline of natural gas into the northeast, and the state has a specific policy to try and move everybody off of gas. So they're not investing in the infrastructure to add new pipelines or make it easier for us to get gas. The idea that we should all move to electricity. So I don't foresee gas coming down anytime soon, unless lots of people do move off gas and into electricity. But of course, that will push up electrical prices. So, and so that's, it was interesting because I had this eureka, sort of aha moment where I finally connected the dots, because when we were looking at the MSBA and applying to them to replace the boiler at a Harwich Elementary School, they're replacing it with heat pumps, because their policy now, as part of the state policy, is to invest in electricity and not in gas, and so they won't replace like with like anymore. So, all right, so that's happening. And then one other thing, sorry, I know I'm pushing my limit, but
You don't have a limit.
I just wanted to give you one thing that's actually not here. I just wanted to update you on is the state's FY26 budget, because they just came out with a new iteration of the state's FY26 budget, and that determines the Chapter 70 numbers, and what we get in different school choice and charter tuition, and what we pay on those items as well. And right now, the net effect of where the budget's right now is about $90,000 more than we budgeted. So that's good, $90,000 more revenue than we budgeted. Still plenty of time, so it could change. And some of that's based on assumptions around charter tuition and school choice. So that might not end up that way, but at least it's sort of moving in the right direction. School choice, yeah. So we just completed our annual audit, and for your delectation, I included our audit reports in your packet. No significant findings from the auditor. It's all fairly straightforward. No findings at all. Never mind, not insignificant or otherwise. We're also in the middle of procurement updates. Procurement right now, we have bids coming in tomorrow for flooring replacement at 2 of the schools. That was one of the items that has been kept in the budget. And we're also we're out to bid right now for replacement of a rooftop unit for this year, and kitchen appliance maintenance, so we spend an increasing amount of money just maintaining our appliances in the kitchens, and so we're trying to get a vendor that will do that. I'm also working, and I just wanted to give you the heads up, because this might be of more interest, is that we're working on a child care services bid document right now, so that'll go out. So for right now we have the YMCA at Harwich Elementary School, so we just have to bid that out every few years, and so we're in the process of doing that right now. And the last thing, just a nice thing to finish on, is the cafeteria nook that we just bought. I know, it's so cool, isn't it? So we just bought, well, not just, it was a month or so ago, we got this, the food service department bought this for the cafeteria in Chatham Elementary School, and this allows students with a heightened sensory sensitivity to eat with their peers in the cafeteria, which can be a very noisy and overwhelming place for people of all ages, including myself. So I think this is really awesome, and we had that in place.
Can I have a comment on this Nook? When I was in Atlanta for the National School Board Conference, they had the displays of all these.
Oh, really?
And it was so interesting to see the adults. Everybody's like trying to get into the Nook.
Everybody loves it.
And my question is, so food service funds purchased the one at Chatham. Is that the district food service?
Yeah, yes,
Okay.
yeah.
And why Chatham?
Well, so to be honest, we trialed it. So we wanted to get one to see it, because, they're about $7,000, so we didn't want to rush out and buy a whole bunch. So we wanted to get one and see how it went, give it a couple of months, see if it works out, and then we'd look to buy another one for the Harwich Elementary School. It's also, space is also an issue, so we just have to make sure there's space for it to go, so. But yeah, my initial plan, I was like, these are amazing, let's buy 3 for each school, they're so neat.
Yes,
I was like, okay, I kind of put the
one.
brakes on, let's get one, see how it works out, and then if that works out, we'll get one.
Okay. I love it.
Yeah, it's neat, isn't it?
Any other questions?
So I would just say, so a real last one thing, and then just a budget transfer. So one thing is, so what the impact that this does have, having less money at the end of the year. The end of the year, that's great. There's not a problem paying our bills. But the impact it does have is on next year's budget, because this means there's probably less excess and deficiency available for FY27 budget. We're not able to, we're drawing on other funds like school choice more heavily, and so that will have an impact in future years. All right. And then my last thing was just this, the budget transfer. So this relates to a couple of those major accounts that I had highlighted. We'd like to move $100,000 from benefits and fixed charges over to pupil services to help pay for some of the transportation that we've seen increase. And then take $27,000 out of the teacher major account and move over to guidance and counselling. And we have a surplus in teachers and a deficit in guidance just related to turnover. So somebody coming in that's cheaper or more expensive than the person that they left.
Do we have a motion? Jackie?
Sure. Motion to approve the FY25 Quarter 3 budget transfers as listed in the memorandum provided to the school committee.
Any second?
Second.
It's Meredith. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes.
All right, thank you very much. I can speak to the next item. if you
Sure.
like.
Amy?
So we have a donation request from one of our student activity funds. This is from the Empty Bowls, Full Hearts activity that happened at the high school. It's like an amazing event that happens here at the high school, happened in March. And from that, they raised $1,100 for the Family Table Collaborative. And so we're just looking for your approval to make that donation.
Do we have a motion? Jackie?
Motion to approve the amount of $1,100 from the Empty Bowls, Empty Hearts Monomoy Regional High School fundraiser held on March 20th to the Family Table Collaborative as a donation.
Second?
Second.
Meredith, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? And that passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay. I don't believe we have any reports under subcommittee. Representative
Chair. So I apologize, I didn't put this on there, so I'm just going to make just a statement because it's not on the agenda, but I referenced it before. But as your legislative liaison, I was at the State House, of course, on Tuesday, and I just wanted to just make a general comment because Michael reminded me of a few things. There are a lot of efforts for the Massachusetts Association of School Committees. We're working on so many bills on the state level, and one of which I think I'd mentioned 2 or 3 meetings ago we're really on the legislators to take a look at Chapter 70, look at the funding formula. It's not working. So we're really pressing them. The Senate President, Karen Spilka, this is something she's committed to for the next 2 years, is to look at this. And there's going to be a lot of hearings and getting feedback. But the intention is to revisit Chapter 70. It's just not working, and so we're all just going to stay on top of them. So I just wanted to share that with you. The Rural Schools Bill, which I think I've also shared with all of you, we're just really on everyone to stay on top in this legislative session on these priorities. So I just wanted to make that statement.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Superintendent's report?
I'll just be brief. I'd like to really thank those that attended the Harwich Town meeting and the voters there. So Harwich Town meeting voted to support both our budget and the middle school renovation project. So we, as I said, we still have Chatham Town meeting on Saturday and the polls in Harwich on the 20th, but fingers crossed we'll see that project come to fruition. And I just really appreciate just everybody's support that we saw that evening. There was a lot of passionate conversation at the mic.
Thank you.
Sorry, I just had a question. We didn't do the building committee, subcommittee report out. Do we want, it's not listed, but I mean, we can give a quick synopsis, or we can wait till next time, because we have another meeting scheduled.
Yeah, why don't we double it up next time?
We'll double it up.
Thank you. We're going to move on to recognition of outgoing school committee members and our note-taker secretary. Sadly, tonight is officially the last meeting for a few of our colleagues.
Myself and my mentee.
Yes. And I do want to take a few moments to recognize and say thank you and open it up to everyone if anyone wants to say anything. First, I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to Jess Rogers for her 3 years of dedicated service on the school committee. Jess, you're one of the first people to support me when I joined the school committee, and honestly and truly, I can't express to you how much that meant to me. You brought kindness, compassion, and an unwavering commitment to doing what's best for our district. Your care for our communities has been evident in all that you do. It's truly been a pleasure working alongside you. Thank you for everything. You're truly appreciated. I'd like to give you a small certificate here. Thank you. I don't know if anyone else wants to say anything to Jess.
I do. Jessica, you were my mentor over this last year, and you really helped me understand the role of school committee member and to explain to me a number of the different issues and also the processes, which kind of came up during the course of the year. So I thank you so very much and for helping me, and thank you so much for your service here to the school district over the past several years.
I'll go too, yeah. Jess, I just want to reiterate, thank you so much for all your work. I know as a mom with young children, when I first started, it's a difficult balance, and you did an excellent job. You speak eloquently. I love listening to you. Everything you say is meaningful, and I think you brought a lot to the committee. You will be missed largely. I'll miss my Chatham counterpart. But I look forward to seeing you around the community. I know you're still very embedded, and I look forward to seeing all the other things that you do to manifest and contribute. Thank you.
What is it?
Jess, I want to thank you too. Your comments are always thoughtful and purposeful, like Jackie said. And I also want to thank you for your mission behind the housing crisis on the Cape.
Yes.
You have been a front runner from our committee to really get out there and get the information and try to find ways to bring housing to families that need it in our community. So, thank you.
And
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I just want to even though I'm going out the door with you, I want to say that I vividly remember, and this was when I was the chair and we were talking about the elementary schools, and Jess was so involved, and you came to us through Chatham 365, and you didn't let up. So I I just want to thank you for that, because I remember, and I thought, oh, she'd be an excellent school committee member. And then she started showing up when we still had the hybrid, and I'm like, oh my God, is she gonna, like, run? And then there you were. So I've enjoyed working with you. Thank you so much.
And just the superintendent is still not trying to close Chatham Elementary. On a serious note, I think one of the things that has been most special for me to watch over the last 3 years, I'm somebody who just values lifelong learning, and I think to watch you professionally and personally grow over the last 3 years and to see how excited you have gotten about getting back in school and new jobs and new opportunities, I think it's been really refreshing for me to see as an educator. But I also know as a dad who's gone through that, how important that is for our children to see. So that, for me, has just been priceless. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. And your family's here.
Thank you. Thank you to your family.
For letting us have her.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
You may now have her back a little bit.
Kind of. I'll take it back.
Okay. Next.
No tears, because I don't have waterproof mascara on, so I'm going to get into my best acting skills. Okay, go ahead.
I'll do that too. How's that?
What do you have to say about me?
I would like to thank Tina Gaines. Tina, your deep knowledge of state laws and policies has been an invaluable asset. Your positive spirit, dedication, and tireless work on behalf of our schools have made a lasting impact for this district. I'm truly grateful for all you've contributed. I'm truly grateful for all of your help over my tenure here so far. It's been an absolute joy working with you. I'm going to miss you. And I hope that you stay in touch. Come be an audience member.
I will. So I'm happy to lead a workshop. I'm happy to lead a workshop. Anyway, okay. Oh, look at that. Oh my goodness, thank you so much.
Open it up.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you very much. I rank up there with Terry. That's pretty like, wow. Okay.
Tina, I just want to thank you. I feel like you were a mentor to me when I came on, right behind you. But still, your knowledge of all laws and really being thoughtful, and you have thought through so many things with me over the years, and I appreciate every moment, and I will miss you on the committee as well.
Thank you, Jack.
This one's going to be hard for me to let go. I rely on my Tina. She's one of my last standing of a big crew. Tina and I have overlapped in many capacities, chair, vice chair, committees. Every moment with Tina is a learning moment. And she's there with a text, she's there with a phone call, and always not quick to judge what your question is, but to go, oh, I didn't look at it that way. I've always appreciated your candor and the fact that we can disagree and agree and have just very productive conversations in the best interest of the district. I think you're going to be amazing at whatever you pursue moving forward. I think that I will continue to utilize you, and you don't realize it. I would be thrilled to have you back for a workshop. I remember when you were first running for the board, and I remember all of us going to the select board meeting and listening to you and Charles.
Yes, and Linda Cibola.
And one other. There were four of you.
Dana DaCosta.
Yep. And I was like, who is this woman? Where did she come from? Her ex? Like, I was just like, who's this lady from Virginia? And I remember going, you know, it was between you and Charles. The irony was like, Charles is still part of our life here, but I think that you were very well suited, and I thank you every day for what you've done and what you've brought and what you've taught me. And I continue to look forward to watching you grow, and I hope you come back and visit.
Thank you very much. If I can just have a quick response, because I just wanted to say, I remember that when the four of us were there, because I came in first through an appointment to fill a vacant seat, and then I got 2 terms. And I started my little speech with, I'm here as a satisfied customer. And that was my opening sentence, and I rattled on all the great things I loved about Monomoy. So that never changed. So I have 2 kids that have graduated the system, one of which 2020, I didn't even get to go to her graduation, and I've never forgotten it. But anyway, thank you. You just reminded me of that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have learned a tremendous amount from you this year, watching you in committees and in the subcommittee as well. Your analysis, the questions that you asked, really very sharp, and it shows a lot of being very, very thoughtful. You have shown tremendous leadership that I've seen over this last year in terms of being the vice chair and working with Betty, and your passion just really comes through for the school and everybody involved here, and also for your your duties in terms of for the state as well for school committee. Really appreciate that, and I will tell you that you have really set a standard for all of us and for everybody else who follows in the school committee to be able to be as committed as you have been.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm going to keep it very short. I have a card for you. I can't cry anymore. But no, I won the mentor lottery when I got you. Like you said, I was here a lot, watching a lot. And I was just thrilled that I was partnered with you because I knew that I was going to learn everything that I needed to be able to make the difference that I wanted to make on the school committee. And thank you for always answering my questions and always answering my calls. I really appreciate it. And this isn't the end of us. So.
Yes. Wait till you hear what we're cooking up.
Oh,
We'll come and talk to y'all at the school committee.
Yes.
We're cooking something up. I just want to say a couple things. When I came onto the school committee, I just want to thank those before me: Terry Russell, Nancy Scott, Sharon Stout, all served as mentors to me, and I will never forget them. I also want to give a shout out to Joe Osceola, who I had so many wonderful conversations. I still see him out and about, and we still talk school committee. And also Joanne, who served as my vice chair, and she was terrific, and I miss her. But I just wanted to acknowledge those ahead of me that I learned from, and I don't know, Terry, Sharon, if you're listening, Nancy, wherever you are, but thank you very much, because I learned a lot from them. And Scott, it's been really wonderful working with you.
Oh, it's been wonderful working with you. I had the pleasure as I was walking out at town meeting earlier in the week to run into Simon.
Yeah.
And I was talking with Simon about you and just how lucky we were to have you on there. I think you need some really, some committee members who are real workhorses to go and have a committee sort of gel and get done what we need to get done. And I think you've always been either the workhorse or the one cracking the whip. And sometimes both. And I've learned from you too over the years, because it's sometimes I'm like, okay, superintendent, there's nothing I can do where I can, where I'm going to please everybody. And I always love your sort of optimism that, damn it, we're going to try to please everybody.
That's my PR Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. And again, Scott, I said this to you last week. I'm going to say it again. Your dedication, it's just been a pleasure. And one of the things I didn't share, I ran into Bob Sanborn from the Tech at the State House on Tuesday, and he said, "Oh, Scott's going to retire," and I said, "No, he's not going to retire." We agreed transition. so transition was the word. But everybody has so much respect for you, seriously, and it's like, I'm not lying when I said Monomoy was the talk of the State House and Scott Carpenter, so it's been a pleasure. And also the turnover in superintendents, I hear about it across the state. You're going to have big shoes, to fill, and it's just been wonderful being part of your journey here. So thank you for all you've done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, lastly but not least, I also want to put a shout out to Leah Tambolio.
Oh, yes.
Because Leah served as the note taker for this committee for I don't know how many years, but kept us all organized, kept us on track, made sure things were moving. Tonight is officially Leah's last night. She's doing this remotely. But Leah, thank you for all of your assistance, guidance, dedication, organization. Another set of big shoes to fill,
Yes.
for sure. So we want to thank Leah. For the public's awareness going forward, Roberta Simmons will be taking over as the main point of contact for the school committee, so we just want to make sure everyone's aware of that. And that is it.
Can I say one thing?
Yes.
Because I know Leah is going to be watching this meeting. Leah went above and beyond so many times, especially when we were remote. And the year that I was chair, she drove packets to people, walking in the snow, hiking up hills. And I actually nominated her that year for, because the school or the state has these awards they give, and I nominated Leah. I know that she was in the final running of one of the awards, but I just want to recognize Leah for everything she's done, especially when we were remote. She was the one getting the tech and trying to sort people's stuff out, and she really went above and beyond, and I just want to thank you, Leah. Serving as the chair that year, Leah was my right hand, and it was just wonderful, and I love you dearly, Leah.
Anybody else?
Oh, I would definitely like to, Leah, if you are listening, I would definitely like to thank you. You seamlessly stepped in when Barbara retired and have done an absolutely incredible job. It's much like volunteering in a thankless position, but the coordination you have to orchestrate all of this behind the scenes is phenomenal. To even just orchestrate where Dr. Carpenter is going to be when and where is hard, and then have to keep all of us in order. I thank you very much. Your job was always extremely well done, and they will be tough shoes to fill, I will say. But we are there to support.
There we go.
Yep.
Okay, that's it. All right. We're moving on to adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And who's that? Meredith?
Yep.
Second?
Second.
Jackie, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned at 8:06.
All right.
Thank
Thank you,
you all.
everybody. Thank you. It's like a TV show. The show has ended for us.